Hi, I'm Dennis McGinn, founder of CEO of vehicle reconditioning and communications company Rapid Recon. 3 times a month at your place, we visit guests at their place to engage in conversations about the auto industry. Today, we're talking to Hunter Swift, Vice President of Products for STELLA Automotive AI. Hunter has been engaged in the automotive industry for 18 years. He has been product development, including technology, sales, and lead generation. He has been the director of sales, lead development for Dealer Socket for years. With that introduction, let's get at it. So, Hunter, how are you this morning? And can you give us kind of a quick idea of what AI is? Everybody has a different idea of uh, whether it's good or bad.
Yeah, Dennis, well, thank you. I'm really excited to be on the show and get to know you a little bit better and talk about AI. And, what is AI? I think that's a great question. Artificial intelligence is definitely a popular buzzword when you're talking to technology. And if you walk around NADA next month, I'm sure you'll probably see a lot of companies that are mentioning AI. But just because something is automated or that they say AI doesn't really mean that it's real artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence are computer systems that are able to do complex tasks and solve problems. And the task would usually require some type of human intelligence in order to accomplish it. So without getting too technical, this involves really complex operating algorithms and processing, and usually looks at a lot of data. And it's consistently learning and getting better and learning new skills. And just some of the AI products would be things like speech recognition, speech transcription, decision making, answering questions, or doing these complex tasks that would normally require some type of human involvement. And most of us have probably interacted with some type of AI if you've used Siri or Alexa to accomplish a task. And if you remember when you first used it, you probably were able to just do a simple task like answer a question or tell a joke, or play a song. But now they have these complicated tasks that these skills that they're able to do, like order things from Amazon or other complicated, things that you might request. And so, in a nutshell, that's kind of what AI is.
Or if your granddaughter comes to your place and she's telling Alexa what songs to play. Um,
Yeah, exactly.
it's yeah, very like that. So Hunter, what does AI do? Why does AI matter in automotive? I mean, it's like everywhere. So, but could
Yeah.
you kind of give us a couple of examples? That would be really helpful.
Yeah, I mean, in automotive, we historically have not been on the forefront of technology. And often when new technology is introduced to automotive, it requires the dealership often to have to learn a new tool or most often change processes. And that's something that automotive hasn't been the quickest to do is change. And so when you start looking at, AI and its ability, the company that I work for, we have a digital intelligent assistant. And so what it can do is it can take on, redundant items like off people's plates, like answering routing calls or answering frequently asked questions like location or hours, and even do things like setting appointments. And so what's nice about, AI in general is it's always on. It never takes a day off, or you don't really have to manage it. And those are usually the hard things that we have to deal with in automotive. And so that's why I think AI is really something that's going to do really well in automotive.
A specific area that I've heard about a little bit is things like service scheduling. How would AI be used for something like that?
Yeah, I mean, in just a grand sense, like AI can do a lot of, like, it can fix a lot of things at the dealership. So I guess even to take kind of a step back, if you call the dealership, easily recognize some of the issues that the dealerships have and that our customers are experiencing every single day. And those things can be like, you call a dealership, ring 45 seconds before a live person answers, or it gets answered with like a traditional IVR that says press 1 for sales, 2 for service, 3 for parts. You're wanting to find out something about, your lease end options or an extended warranty or something like that, and you don't really know if that's 1, 2, or 3. You press 1. Next, you're getting transferred to a sales rep. You're talking to a sales rep, realizing that that's not the person that can answer your questions. They end up transferring you back to the receptionist, and you get stuck in this kind of loop. And so these are just some issues that our customers are experiencing. And then even often, when you're even trying to set like an appointment for service, sometimes the hold times can be a minute up that we've seen at some of these dealerships. And right now, automotive has been hit, I think, pretty hard in regards to the human capital problem of trying to find people to answer calls and to set appointments. And the dealership just doesn't have a lot of time to find, hire, train, and manage these people. And so that's where I think like an AI digital assistant could come in, answer all the calls in one ring, can lower the hold times, reduce the abandoned calls or even the overflow and calls that are being sent to voicemail that somebody's going to have to call, listen to those voicemails. And we're finding that sometimes even as high as 60% of the people that leave voicemails, when you call back, when you're finally able to get a hold of them, they've already called back and set an appointment with either you or a different dealership. And so there's just a lot of like extra work that the dealership is doing that's really not netting them any additional. And so as you kind of were talking about, how does AI apply to the fixed operations side, like a lot of times the service advisor, their job is to make sure that the customers that are coming into the drive, that they could be have that customer experience that's great, that's quick, but often their phones are ringing. You have people that are calling, asking about price or parts availability, the status of their vehicle, or even simple tasks like where are you guys located or how late are you guys, can you drop off a vehicle? There's all these questions that then take away from that experience that the customer is having in the drive. And if you think about it, our industry, we like to set appointments, and you might have an appointment to drop off the car at 15. You drive there, you expect to drop it off. It's not like a doctor's office, right, where you come in at an appointment at 2 and they don't see you till 3. We have an expectation that it's going to be easy. And what happens, though, a lot of times is that advisor is busy on the phone, and you have the customer sitting in the drive just waiting. And it just, you're like, I've got to go to work. And these are some easy tasks that could be replaced with AI. And, when you start thinking about, service appointments and setting appointments, even like in regards to the BDC, it's like when a customer calls in, you got to have a person there to answer the call. But then once you're on the call, it takes about 4 minutes to set an appointment. You've got to look up in your service scheduler. You got to look to see if this is an existing customer, what vehicle. And it starts taking so much time that the BDC rep might be like, oh, the customer is getting it's taking too long, and I'm just going to book the appointment. So then they stop asking questions like, what specifically are you bringing your car in? They're not upselling, trying to get you for a recommended service. They're not talking to you about recalls. And, they just kind of set the appointment, and then it's adding more work to the advisor, because once the customer comes to the advisor, they're going to look at this appointment and realize there's no op codes. They have to fix it. They got to change things. They got to update things. And so it just kind of takes a lot of kind of problems. And so that's kind of where I see AI, really assisting, is not necessarily replacing humans or even replacing the BDC, but taking off their plate all of the easy, repeatable, mundane things that get in their way and prevent them from providing the best customer experience to their customers.
That's terrific. I've got a couple of follow-up questions, but can you talk about STELLA Automotive and kind of how that came to be, and what things that what's your mission? What things are you doing to kind of address these problems that you've talked about?
Yeah. So STELLA Automotive is part of a company called Telepathy Labs, and this is a company that's been around for 5 years. It's an AI expert in the industry, and they've developed their own proprietary AI technology and have developed and proved it with Fortune 100 companies. And these companies are using our AI to do some of the tasks that we're doing, as well as even things like parts, managing their parts, and they're doing a lot of complex things for these companies. And so what they did a couple of years ago was say, hey, we wanted to introduce this to automotive. So in March 2021, we began introducing it to dealers. Now we're in multiple dealerships across the country, and we haven't even officially launched. So we're officially launching at NADA in March in Las Vegas, and we're excited. But even though we're new, this technology that we've built has over 5 years of being worked and proven in other industries as we apply this into ours. But our product, Stella, is a digital assistant that replaces IVRs. So when you call a dealership, instead of the press 1, press 2, press 3, it simply states, how can I help you? And based off the response in natural language, it's able to understand that and get that customer to the right person quickly as possible. Then it can also answer frequently asked questions like, where are you located? What are your hours? Are you open on Sundays? Those type of questions that would normally tie up a person, Stella can answer. But probably our most valuable component or skill is Stella's ability to set service appointments. So when a customer calls, they can call 24/7, and it recognizes the phone number. It pings it off a service scheduler like Xtime. We're able to pull the customer. We're able to pull the customer vehicles. We can ask the customer and say, why would you like to bring your vehicle in? We're able to match that to existing op codes, and then ask the customer when they would like to bring their car in. And we get the appointment availability from the scheduler, and we're able to find an appointment for different transportation types that are, that will help that customer set the appointment. Usually, if the customer says yes to everything, it takes about 1 minute and 40 seconds from the time that's answered to the time that the appointment is booked, and it sends it directly into the service scheduler. But if the customer has other questions or says things like, do you have anything a little later in the day or earlier, or do you have something on Friday between 8 and 10? It's able to understand all of that and compute it to an appointment. And, what's nice about AI in general, and specifically talking about my product, but just in products in general, there are a lot of tools out there that have an AI component, almost like a chat bot, where it asks a question and then the customer replies. And we don't really kind of consider that like a true AI, because you ask a question and then there's a field that comes after that. With a true AI like our product, you could call, and when it says, how can I help you? You could say, my name is Hunter. I want to bring in my 2019 BMW X5 for an oil change. It just now captured all that information. So the next question is going to be asking a question that I didn't get. So it's going to ask something like, well, what was the mileage? If another person calls, or I call back and I say, I just want to bring my car in for service, it's going to then say, well, what car would you like to bring in for service? And if I say a BMW X5, it can recognize that I didn't say the year, and so it will ask the year. And so that's just one example of our product, and others, other technology of a true AI product is, it's able to understand multiple different, questions, and able to process that into data that then is able to accomplish a task like routing a call or setting an appointment. And so, overall, AI is a very beneficial to the dealer in regards to just, the things that a human can't do or can't always do. And our goal is just to help boost overall customer engagement. I mean, how hard it is to get customers on the phone. A lot of times these are customers calling us, and sometimes we're not doing the best at it, or we're not offering the best experience. And this way you can incorporate AI to provide an easy, consistent experience that will improve overall customer satisfaction, decrease the overall operation cost, because the alternative, if it's going to answer the phone, or you have people that are on hold, is to hire more people, which we know how hard it is to do, or go to like an outsourced BDC that is very costly and not always beneficial to the dealership. But I think in general, our goal, as I mentioned, is not to replace humans, but assist humans. And what we're seeing is, by taking some of those mundane tasks off their plate, like inbound service appointments, the BDC can now focus on outbound calls. And so now we're seeing a more positive, increase in appointments, because now they're focused on, the sold not serviced in, in X amount of time, or recalls. That's a huge opportunity that's being missed, because their time, 80% of their time is being taken by inbound calls. And so, kind of to answer your question, that's kind of what Stella is trying to do. But, any type of AI product, the goal should be to help us and take things off your plate so that your team can focus on the more important matters, and helping your customers be, have the best positive experience.